Welcome to Farmer Insights.
In this series, we bring you intriguing conversations with interesting personalities, leaders, innovators, educators, and game changers in the field of pharmacy.
Our guests will share their unique experiences, insights, and perspectives on the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities in pharmacy.
That means if you are something, people must criticize you. If you say something, you're qualified to be criticized. If you do something, you are overqualified to be criticized.
The field of pharmacy gives you the opportunity to create.
Exactly.
So it's a field that makes you be able to try out things, work out things, have an idea, put it to play, and you end up with a product.
So join us on this journey as we delve into the world of pharmacy at the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, University of Jos, where we explore ideas and gain new insights from the people shaping the future of healthcare.
Good day, everyone. We are all welcome to today's session. My name is Sunday Audu, and today we have a very great personality, which is the Dean of the Faculty, the person of Professor Ndidi C Ngwuluka. You are welcome, ma.
Thank you very much, Sunday.
Thank you, ma. So before we proceed, ma, I personally have a question I want to ask before we dive into the main agenda for today. The C in your name, please, can you please tell us what it means?
C means Chinyelo, and it means God gave.
God gave.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you very much, ma. So moving forward, before being the dean of the faculty, you've been a professor in pharmaceutics. What actually inspired you to choose a career path in pharmaceutics in the first place?
Oh, wow. Are you sure you want to know that one?
Yes, ma.
Well, back in school, I think I had a mentor then, Professor Goa, who was actually keen on my going into clinical pharmacy, but I didn't think I wanted clinical pharmacy. No, let me take that back. I would have loved clinical pharmacy, but sometimes there is a fight that when you have, you can decide to change your path.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had a battle with pharmaceutics. Pharmaceutics was the course that I had issue with.
Oh.
So the moment I did that, it was more like, what are you? You're nothing. I can do it. And so I decided, okay, fine, that this is where I'll go. Okay. And then another thing that I kind of liked was that, the field of pharmacy gives you the opportunity to create.
Exactly.
So it's a field that makes you be able to try out things, work out things, have an idea, put it to play, and you end up with a product. And so when I thought about it, with clinical pharmacy, it's not going to give you that.
Yeah, sure.
But pharmaceutics will give you that. And so you could go into pharmaceutics, you'll be able to produce dosage forms, produce what we call drug delivery systems. You'll be able to produce materials as excipients. I'm actually a material scientist, so I'm very busy going into nature, trying to find materials that can be used as excipients. And when we talk about excipients, we're talking about those materials that are non-pharmacological that you add in the formulation of drugs. And so you get that. So pharmaceutics offered me that platform, and then I grabbed it.
Now, moving forward, as the dean of the faculty, how do you envision the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences to kind of evolve during your own tenure as the dean of the faculty? And the time frame is short. That's another thing.
I was just about to say to you, Sunday, there's something you probably don't know, that my time is about to end. The 2 years is almost over. One of the things when I started, I was gunning for was seeing how we can be seen to be fulfilling, or at least scratching our vision and our missions. Okay? So, and when you look at our vision, our mission, you see that there are things that play out there. One is that you see the creativity, where we're talking about offering products, where we're talking about offering services. Okay? And we're also talking about innovation, being able to go into research, to be able to produce things that people can use, to be able to serve the community. And then, of course, we're talking about excellence. We're looking at excellence in the quality of products, not just the drugs that we hope we will produce, but also the students, because the students are representative of the faculty.
Exactly.
So when they go out there, they are our products and want to be sure that they display excellence. So these were my focus when I started as the Dean of Faculty. And that was why when we started introducing a number of things that the students could do. We wanted a situation where it's not only all about just that our curriculum, but we wanted a situation where they will go there and they can think on their feet. And so that's how we now started introducing students' projects, where you come together as a team to be able to execute a project. In that, we're also trying to foster creativity, innovation, and excellence.
Wow, wow, that's a whole lot actually, and I think we've actually been able to do these things within the period of just 2 years, which is very good, very good. So the next question now is, can you please share with us some of the research works you did? I know of the recent one where you used Karikashi as a binder in formulation. So can you please say more about that particular research and maybe a little more of the ones you did in the past and some of the ones you want to do during your stay in the faculty?
Thank you, Sunday. When I left for my PhD program, I had an interest, which is in the field of nanotechnology. Okay. When we talk about nanotechnology, we're referring to materials at a nanoscale. Okay, so you have particles that are so tiny, 10 raised to the power minus 9. Okay, so when we did that, I went and I now decided to produce nanoparticles. And I always have this thought of doing things as natural as possible. The less synthesis, the better. The less synthetic materials, the better. So I decided to use enzymes to be able to produce the nanoparticles. Yes, the enzymes produce the nanoparticles, but I now had a problem. I had a drug I had to use because the drug, we were working on a product that can manage Parkinson's disease. And I had to use the drug for Parkinson's disease. So I didn't have the room to be able to play with active pharmaceutical ingredients. If I had the room, I would have said, okay, let me change the drug and continue with formulation of nanoparticles using enzymes. But the problem is that they were both comfortable at different conditions. The enzyme is able to function optimally at about pH 7.4. And then if I take the drug at that pH, the drug is unstable at that pH. It gets oxidized at that pH. So in the end, while I could rejoice that yes, this enzyme was able to produce nanoparticles, but I couldn't use it to be able to formulate the drug. So I now had to switch and look for another technology to produce the nanoparticles. So this was part of the work we were doing. Unfortunately, we are not able to continue with the work because when it comes to nanoparticles, you need a number of equipment, the facilities that we do not have in this faculty. Yeah. But then I had this other interest, which is using natural materials to be able to make dosage forms, to be able to make medicines. So I now decided to begin to look into nature for materials. That was how I got to use Karikashi. Now, Karikashi was fun because this is something people use for soup. And I just said, okay, fine. That even makes it really natural. So being able to use what we already take into our body to be able to use it to make drugs. Fantastic. So that was what we did. So we're able to use Karikashi to be able to make emulsions. We use Karikashi, let me say this so it don't look like we're using the whole Karikashi. No, extract from the leaves. It's called Sesamum radiatum. So you know that slimy material, that's what we extracted. And we're able to use it as a thickening agent. We're able to use it to make tablets. And then, of course, we went ahead to see, okay, this is a material. Let's see how we can even characterize this material. Let's know what this material is all about. and we realized that it has different types of sugar brought together, linked together, but what we call glycosidic linkages, coming together the different sugar to be able to make a whole macromolecule called polymer. And that's what we were using. And then we even went as far as trying to see how we can purify it. And it was interesting. Unfortunately, it would have been nice to show you the pictures because I'm always excited about that research. Being able to really purify it, and it went from brown color to white color.
Oh,
That's part of my thrill about it.
wow.
So what are we doing currently? Currently, we're now trying to still go back to nature to see if we can get packaging materials. Now, if you look
So that's
around,
packaging materials from nature.
from nature, yes.
Okay.
If you look around, you see our polythene bags don't degrade. So they just stay on the soil. And you know, we don't have good culture here in the country of making sure we discard things well.
Exactly.
So most times you see these polythene bags all over the place on the environment. So we're thinking, okay, fine, what if we're able to get a material that biodegrades so that even if people throw it out, it will just degrade and is out of sight.
Wow.
So that's what we're currently working on to see whether we'll be able to get biodegradable materials that can be used as packaging materials.
Okay, that's a way of bringing the SDG in pharmaceutical practice in
Yes.
such a way that we'll be able to minimize waste.
Yes.
Thank you very much
Yes.
for that. Thank you.
And make the environment look cleaner.
Wow, thank you very much. So moving forward, as a lecturer and a professor in the field of pharmaceutical sciences, you've been lecturing for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
What are some of the pressing challenges we face in the pharmaceutical section of education particularly? What are some of the challenges and how do you think we can manage and correct those challenges?
Right now, immediate headache right now is staffing.
Staffing, wow.
We don't have enough staff. A number of things have happened. We have lost some have retired, and some have left, and they have not been replaced. That means that the few available are overworked. And then you know how that happens. You now begin to struggle at being able to do so much. So even if we have a lot of ideas, when you remember that you're short-staffed, you're not able to execute as many as you want to execute because you don't have the hands to help with the execution.
That's true.
That's one. Another problem we're having is with regards to, well, I'm hoping we've had a stable session, and I hope that we'll be able to continue to have stable sessions, because sometimes when we have these strikes that occur, it has a way of distorting the flow of things, making it a bit difficult for us to be able to do the things that we have planned to do. So most times, some of the things are on our calendar are not executed because now we're running out of time.
Exactly.
Now, pharmacy is an expensive program. When I say that, it's because, remember I said that the beauty about pharmacy is being able to create. So you now find out that we need materials to be able to be innovative. You need funds to be innovative. You need equipment to do cutting edge research. We have limited research infrastructure in the faculty. So it's really not helping us to be able to do a whole lot that we'll be able to do. So sometimes you have ideas, but when you remember that you don't have the equipment, you now find yourself making do with the least of what you could do with the available infrastructure.
Wow.
Okay. So funding is a major issue, because if you have funds, you'll be able to navigate a whole lot of things.
That's true. So moving forward, how will you foster innovation and excellence within the faculty, which is in line with the motto of the faculty? So as the dean of the faculty, how will you foster innovation and excellence within the faculty?
One of the things we've been trying to do is encourage some trainings where we've tried to do some professional and personal trainings to be able to at least equip the people, because you cannot be pushing for what they don't have. So we start with training, with mentorship programs. That's why every now and then we're encouraging the students. We have a program here where we have staff advisors. The staff advisors can serve as mentors, so that they'll be able to help Okay. So when we have that, so that everybody will be able to, and then another thing we're also doing is have open communication. Feel free, feel free to come around, feel free to come and talk to the dean, feel free to come and talk to any other staff. So if the students are having problem, we know. We've also tried to train on mental health. That's why I said we're doing both professional and personal training. Now, and then we're also
Okay.
beginning to create awareness. You know, you're creating awareness with regards to this is where we're going, so that everybody can come on board. So now we're talking about this. This is our motto: creativity, innovation, and excellence.
Exactly.
That's also a way of trying to encourage people to know this is where we're headed, and we want everybody to come along.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much for that. Moving forward, we are going to talk about your own pattern of leadership and management. And one of the questions I have here is, what values guide your leadership style, and how do you make tough decisions? Because one thing I noticed within the time you've been serving as the dean is the fact that you were able to make some certain decisions that students were not really comfortable with, but it was the right thing. And despite the fact that there was pressure from students, other people from outside, and all of that, you were still able to make that decision and stand on it. So, what are some of these values that guides your leadership style, and how were you able to make those decisions?
Um, Integrity, fairness.
Oh,
If some of the students remember, sometimes when they come to me, I'll remind them, okay, this was what we did the last time. I need to be fair on those people. So when you're asking for this, what about these people? This was what we did. So there's fairness. I believe in fairness, and then integrity, transparency. And then there's also another thing I keep thinking about. I don't want to create a problem for the next dean. So once I see that whatever decision I was going to take is likely going to create a problem, or I'm going to create a mess that the next thing will probably be cleaning up for God knows how long, then I wouldn't want to take that kind of decision. Another thing I look at is, what's the policy? What are the rules and regulations guiding the university? So if the students are asking me to go contrary to those, I won't go contrary to them, because the university has regulations, the university has rules. They have that. And that's why, if you notice, I always say to the students, go and look at your student handbook. This is what it says. The student handbook says you must have 75% attendance. Go and see it there. That's what it says. This is what it says about exams. Take a look at it. So we need to abide by it. One of the things and sometimes some of these things happen out of experience. 1 minute you do this for this group, another group will come and demand it. So if you decide, oh, let me compromise for whatever reason, somebody is seeing it, somebody knows. So tomorrow they're going to come and make a demand on you. But meanwhile, you're thinking you want a one-off situation to pacify some people. You don't know that you're creating a problem for the future. So sometimes my mind goes to all these things. And when my mind goes to all that, I now begin to see what kind of decision one needs to take so that it will favor everyone. And then I always think about the collective good of everybody. Collective good. Most people come, this is something personal to them. They want to attend to it. It's about their self. But I think about the collective good. What will benefit everybody? That's how it is. And then another thing I also do is I consult. So when I consult, I will now be able to say, okay, this is it, and then we'll arrive at a decision.
wow.
So some decisions students may think that I took. No, there's some decisions that are taken by the board, not necessarily the dean.
Wow, that's well understood. Integrity and fairness, very important. So moving forward, the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences is actually a place that has people from different parts of the country, Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. So everybody is coming with a different mindset, with a different mentality. Now, as the Dean of the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, how will you promote diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences?
It's always a challenge. I've kind of noticed that it's always a challenge. But one of the things I start by doing from my own perspective is to choose to first and foremost see everybody as humans. So that's the thing. See everybody as humans and not allow yourself to be cornered into being tribalistic or cornered into being this or that or that. Everybody is first a
A
human being.
human.
And I also work from this perspective. How does God see people? Does he really see them and treat them based on where they come from? No, he doesn't. So when I treat people, I treat them based on they are first human, created in the image of God, and we relate to them based on that. And then when we also look at that, we look at, okay, see how we can promote merit. Then we also create awareness so that people will understand that this is how things are. Okay, so you encourage togetherness, you encourage interaction. And so based on that, people are be able to. So you also make sure that you're not seen to be on one side. So if you're not on one side, you help people because you're now living by example, and then people can now be able to follow. Because if you think people are not observant, they are.
Of course, they are. Wow. All right. Moving forward, the fact that you are into research and now the dean of the faculty, at the same time, you don't miss your lectures. I know personally, I noticed that you don't miss your lectures. How have you been able to balance this whole thing? We all know that this is a very huge task and it's time demanding. But how have you been able to balance this thing and do them well the way you are?
Um, I can't tell you it's been easy. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge. But you know that as a leader, you have to, like I said before, lead by example. So you have to make sure you're
Exactly.
not found wanting. So in some cases, you delegate. In some cases, you try to make sure you manage your time. And then in some cases, you find that, like when it comes to research, I've had to employ research assistants to be able to help with that because with the administrative role, it's becoming more and more difficult to be in the lab.
Exactly.
So they become my hands and feet in the lab while I'm doing the administrative work. And then when it comes to lectures, I tell myself that is my primary assignment. When the letter was given to me, I say, you're now employed here. I was made to understand that administration is 20%, even though now I'm contesting it because I'm now telling that the administration is more than 20%. But I remember that the one that is supposed to have more percentage is teaching. So I make sure that I try to be available for my lectures. So it's all about time management, delegation, and then outsourcing, depending on what can be outsourced.
Okay, speaking of time management, I remember in my 200 level, you explained something most important, less important, something like that, the four boxes of time management. You've actually proven personally that you are applying that. So thank you very much. We are going to take a break for now. And if you are watching this, please do well to subscribe on our YouTube channel. Remember to like and also share. Thank you. Hi, everyone. We are welcome back once again. So we are still on the interview with the dean of the faculty. And in this session, we are going to be asking some personal questions, which is going to be a little bit of fun, you know. So thank you very much, Ma, for still being with us. Thank you.
Yes, it's my pleasure, Sunday.
Thank you, Ma. So what hobbies helps you relax outside of academy and pharmacy? You know, pharmacy can be very stressful, plus the whole dean thing and the lecture. So what are some of those things you do outside of pharmacy school that helps you to relax your mind?
You know, Sunday, I don't like it when people say it's very stressful. When you say that, it kind of does something to your mind. Yes, I agree that pharmacy is demanding. I mean, yes, it's time consuming. There's a lot going on. So when I'm not here, when I'm not teaching, when I'm not there in the dean's office, doing one thing or the other, making sure that the faculty is good. I'm reading.
Re-
Yes, I read. You don't think I should read?
To
I read.
relax.
Yes. No, but I won't read pharmacy books.
Okay.
Yes, I'll
Okay.
pick up something else to read. So one of the things I do too is that for a long time now, I've been finding it difficult to find time to read. So what I've done is to download audiobooks. So I now buy audiobooks. So I get to listen to audiobooks. Maybe I'm listening in the car or I'm just lying there on the couch, I'm listening to it. And then, of course, I enjoy writing. So when I have time, I write. And I seize the opportunity to visit friends, because sometimes too, when you hang out with friends, have a good laugh, it's very good for the body. Okay, it will release the happy hormones.
Yeah, that's true.
So when it releases the happy hormones, I'm good that day. I remember one time I traveled with some friends. We went to pay a condolence visit to one of our friends, and we were just in that vehicle and we're having so much laugh that I had to say to them, "You guys, we need to do this again. It was fun, just hanging out with friends and laughing." So these are the things I do. When I'm not hanging out with friends, I'm reading
Read.
or I'm writing. Or should I say I'm listening to audiobooks.
Wow, wow, wow. Uh, okay, for someone of your age, actually, it's understandable. But for people like us who actually love to play music, play games, stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, now, if you were to meet a scientist or any historical figure that you would love to have dinner with, who would that person be?
Interesting. It will be Jesus. It will be Jesus.
Wow.
He is the ultimate scientist. He is, I like to say that again. He is the ultimate scientist. It will give me an opportunity to ask a number of questions and get quick answers. There's a place in the Bible, I think it's in Proverbs, it says that God conceals things and is the delight of the scientists to discover them. So if I'm going to have a dinner with Jesus, it will fast track some things for me. There will be faster discoveries because I'm going to just ask him, so that cure for cancer, which of the plants? Just tell me straight away.
Wow.
Then I'll just go and pick up that plant and start working with it. Do you understand? Now ask him, how come you went through the face of this earth? You didn't fall ill. What did you do? So that we can be able to use that in modern medicine. Was there anything that he did that made him not to be sick? If that's the case, then he can help us with prevention of diseases. Now, I'm going to ask him about a lot of questions. He defied gravity. He ascended into heaven. How was he able to do that? I'd like to be able to know. How did he now just turn water into wine? How did he do it? Maybe if I know, then that can help us with some of our research. So yes, that's the kind of person I would like to have dinner with. Wow. I don't want to tell you more of the questions I'm going to ask him. So let's stop there.
All right. Wow. All right. Wow. So it's still evolving around pharmacy. I think everything you are saying is still around cure, prevention, and
yes.
Wow. Thank you. So
you asked when you talked about scientists. So if I'm going to sit with a historical science, a scientist, a well-known scientist, then that means I have to think pharmacy.
That's true.
I have to think about cure. I have to think about solution. So that when I ask the question, then I can now be able to go into the lab and improve my skills.
No. All right. Now, considering the level of experience and knowledge you have, which, of course, when you were in your early 20s, you didn't have that kind of knowledge and experience. What advice now would you have given your 20-year-old self now? And the reason why I'm asking this is, okay, so that people out there that are within that age will be able to learn from some of the things you've been able to know at this age.
Okay. I'll encourage them to stay curious. I mean, being curious helps you to be a problem solver, being able to solve your solutions. I'll encourage them to enhance their critical thinking skills. And then I'll encourage them to be fearless.
Oh.
I'll encourage, them to be assertive. And then there's something else that I didn't do then that I'm learning now that I'll encourage them to do. I'll encourage them to create boundaries, learn to say no to goals that are not aligning to any assignment or anything that is not aligning to their goals. They have a career path that they have decided for themselves. But sometimes, before you know what's going on, you have a lot of distractions here and there, and everybody coming to suggest this to you. Oh, you can do it this way, do it that way. But in the end, you suddenly realize, no, I'm heading this way. And then for a minute, you just realize, I am now like this. I'm heading that way. You're heading that way because you've been listening to voices. No, stay focused. So when people are trying to pull you in that direction, you should be able to say, no, that's where I'm headed. Anything that is on the path to where I'm headed, I say yes to it. Anything that is going to take me out of that path where I'm headed, I'll say no to it.
Oh, so focus, very, very important. Curiosity and critical thinking. So, okay, I think let me divert this a little bit for inspiring female leaders. Of course, you are the first female dean of the faculty, and we have a global challenge where you see that the females don't really engage more in leadership, politics, and a whole lot of things. What advice will you have for the younger generation, the females particularly, encouraging them to be part of this whole thing, the global movement of women being in power and that?
Okay, so let me tell you, there's something called societal conditioning that is affecting women.
Okay.
What they perceive to be the role of the woman. But this is what I'll say to the woman. If you have a dream, run with it. They have dreams, but in the end, they really sacrifice their dreams, because sometimes when they present their dream, somebody will say, no, you can't. Don't you know you're a woman? You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. No, don't listen to naysayers, but run with that dream. Whatever your dream is, run with it. Be bold about it. Don't allow yourself to be conditioned by the societal expectation. They have expectation of you. And then sometimes when you go there, you find yourself struggling to please people, but in the end, you realize that you will please nobody. So the best thing is for you to stay focused. You have a dream, run with that dream. Because when you really achieve that dream, honestly, everybody will be happy and be proud of you.
Wow. So to all the females out there, please, this is very crucial and very, very important. Have a dream and run with that dream is very, very important. So our next question now is, if you were to, okay, remember we are still on the personal aspect, not the professional aspect now. So if you were to switch your life with someone for a day, who would that person be and why that person?
Sunday, I'm going to take you back to Jesus again.
Okay, let's apart from Jesus now. Apart from Jesus, I actually wanted to say that apart from Jesus, who would that person be?
Then it will be my mother.
Wow.
It will be my mother. She was a very organized woman. She was also a go-getter, very sacrificial. She was one person that you could call, and then you are certain that whatever it is you want her to do will be done. You'll be sure that you're in good hands. Okay. So she was a great woman, in my opinion. And I remember I've always wondered whether I could really fit into her shoes, because she was just so known. Her friends too, I think at some point too, they were panicking. So let me give you a situation where everybody was panicking. It was my brother's wedding. She wasn't there. So I panicked because I was wondering, will I be able to do it the way she would have done it? And so we're all trying our best. And then the wedding day came and we were just all over the place. Even my father didn't believe we could deliver. He was over impressed and he was talking about it for over 1 hour. But I prayed a prayer because I said to myself, the last thing I want anybody to say in this wedding is, I wish your mother was here. No, because if that happens, I know I failed her.
Exactly.
But I want a situation where they will say, oh, wow, this is Mrs. Ngwuluka's children. They have proven that they came from her. That was what I wanted to hear, and that was what we heard.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. All right, so we are gradually coming to an end, but then before we close, I still have 2 more questions.
Okay.
For you. What inspirational message will you give to the next generation of pharmacists? What inspirational message do you have for them, for us?
And I will say, well, you're a problem solver. Just always know that you have a gap to fill, and nobody can fill that gap because you are uniquely you. And so your assignment is there for you. So if you know that assignment, run with it. Maybe you're the one that may find a cure for cancer. When that idea comes to you, don't chicken out and say, how can me? How is it possible? I cannot. No. Once an idea comes into your mind, it means that that idea can become a reality. So all you need to do is just sit down and start strategizing and start seeing how you can plan to make that idea a reality. And then don't always believe that you have to always think about, oh, but there are no funds. Oh, but there are no funds. No, make the idea of how to get the fund be the last thing. First of all, set out the plan. How do I think this will work? How do I think I can be able to actualize this? And then when you now put that all in paper, you now start even seeing how you can even start before you now start worrying about funds. And then when you now start, you even start having ideas on how to get the fund. So the important thing is, if you want to be a pharmaceutical scientist, run with whatever idea you have, get the necessary skills that you need to be able to achieve that.
Wow. So as a future pharmacist, you shouldn't relax on any idea that comes to your mind. Try to, as much as you can, to execute the idea. Then the last question here on the list is, what exciting development do you foresee in pharmaceutical sciences in the next 5 to 10 years to come?
We're getting towards personalized medicine. You know, where it's been talked about here, there, but very soon it's going to be more of a thing. You know, when we say personalized medicine, we're now trying to see a situation where medicines are tailored to individuals, okay, based on their genetic makeup. And when you do that, you will reduce side effects. You will reduce adverse drug reactions, okay? Because now you're now tailoring these medicines to the individual. So I see that happening, more of that. And then in this era of artificial intelligence, machine learning, I see how we'll be able to use that for drug discovery. So these are some of the things I see. And I'm hoping that we'll see more interdisciplinary research. When we see that, there's going to be a whole lot coming out from there. So I'm hoping that everybody will just put down their egos and people will just come together to be able to work together, so I will be able to achieve so much.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much for joining us today. This session has actually been very, very, very enlightful, and I'm very sure that it's going to help a whole lot of people out there, both the students and those that are not students. Even if you are a student of the faculty or outside the faculty, please, this is an opportunity for you to learn. Remember to always follow us, subscribe on our YouTube channel for more enlightful and engaging content. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Ma, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ma.
It was a delight. I enjoyed myself.
Thank you, Ma.